From the very moment you awaken in the morning, the world begins its clamor and demands your absolute allegiance to the god of activity. Before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is already racing through a labyrinth of obligations and anxieties and future scenarios that have not yet occurred. You look at the clock and you feel the pressure of time pushing against your chest like a physical weight. You look at your device and you are bombarded by the urgency of other people's demands and the chaotic reports of a world that seems to be spinning out of control. Men and women everywhere hurry from task to task with a frantic energy as though salvation lay somewhere ahead of them in time or space. They run through their days with a desperate belief that progress is found in physical movement and that success depends upon constant reaction to the events of the day. They have been conditioned by centuries of misunderstanding to believe that stillness is weakness and that a refusal to participate in the chaos of life is a form of laziness or defeat. They wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor, believing that if they are not moving, they are not living. But I am here to tell you today that the exact opposite is true. The world has deceived you into believing that the shadow is the object and the object is the shadow. All the motion you behold in this outer world is only a shadow play upon the screen of mind. You look at the busy streets and the fluctuating markets and the changing faces of people, and you think that reality is moving. But nothing truly moves except your attention. It is the movement of attention within the psychological structure of your own mind that gives birth to the illusion of change in the outer world. We must examine this illusion with the precision of a surgeon, because until you understand the nature of motion, you will remain a slave to it. You believe that you are a body moving through space, but in the deeper reality of spirit, you are a consciousness moving through states. The physical world, though it seems alive and independent, has no life in itself. It is a dead screen. It is a mirror that can only reflect what is standing before it. It is animated only by the direction of your consciousness and by where you choose to dwell within yourself. Consider the screen in a movie theater. The characters on the screen seem to move. They fight and kiss and run and cry. They seem to have free will. But you know that the movement is not in the screen. The movement is in the film being fed through the projector. If you were to run up to the screen and try to stop the hero from running, you would only tear the screen. You cannot change the picture by manipulating the screen. Yet this is exactly what you do every day of your life. You try to change the world by moving the shadows with your hands. You argue with the reflection. You fight with the echo. You strive and strain and work yourself into the grave, trying to rearrange the furniture of your life, believing that if you just move the pieces fast enough, you will find peace. And yet the same patterns repeat again and again. Look carefully at your own life and you will see the cycle. You hurry to gather riches, and in the process you lose your peace. You chase relationships with desperate action, and you lose your dignity. You pursue health with fear and anxiety, and you lose your rest. This is because motion without spiritual awareness is not creation, it is confusion. It is the sound and fury signifying nothing. Let us go deeper into this mystery of why we are addicted to motion. We move because we are uncomfortable with where we are. All physical ambition is rooted in the belief that here is not good enough and there is better. We believe that if we can just get to that next job or that next relationship or that next tax bracket, we will finally be at rest. So we run. We run on the treadmill of time, hoping to arrive at a destination that is always receding. But the spiritual law states that you take yourself with you wherever you go. If you are running from a state of lack, you carry the lack with you. You cannot outrun your own consciousness. This is why you see people who achieve their goals and are still miserable. They moved their bodies to a new house, but they did not move their minds to a new state. They are still dwelling in the state of insecurity, so the new house eventually feels just as insecure as the old one. This proves that physical motion is not the cause of change. Inner motion is the cause. The only journey you ever take is the journey of attention. When you shift your attention from the thought of poverty to the feeling of abundance, you have traveled a greater distance than a man who flies around the world. You have traveled from one world to another. You have crossed the chasm that separates the beggar from the king. This internal travel is the only motion that matters. I once too believed that to change my world, I must act in the outer sphere. I believed that force was the language of reality. I believed that if I wanted more money, I had to work harder and longer hours than anyone else. I believed that If I wanted to correct a misunderstanding, I had to argue my point until the other person submitted. I believed that silence was dangerous, because while I slept, the enemy would sow weeds. But life in its infinite mercy brought me to my knees to teach me otherwise. I was forced into situations where my outer hands were tied and my physical will was powerless. I faced obstacles that no amount of physical effort could move. And in that paralysis, I discovered the great secret. I learned that nothing changes until I change the state from which I perceive the world. The world only reflects the rhythm of my inner movement. If I am agitated inside, the world is agitated outside. If I am fighting inside, the world brings me battles. If I am at rest inside, the world comes to rest. Do you not see that all your outer efforts are but ripples upon the surface of an unmoved sea? You are splashing in the water, trying to calm the waves with your hands, but your very splashing is creating more waves. To calm the sea, you must stop splashing. You must withdraw into the deep. You must find the place where the water is still, and from that place you command the surface. To understand the illusion of motion, you must understand the nature of time. You think that time is a line that you are walking along. You think you are moving from the past into the future. But the mystics and the physicists tell us that all time is simultaneous. The past, the present, and the future exist now. They are finished creations. You are not creating the future, you are selecting it. You select it by where you place your attention. Imagine a vast library filled with infinite books. Each book is a different timeline of your life. In one book you are poor, in another you are rich, in one you are sick, in another you are healthy. You do not write the book, you simply choose which one to read. When you move your attention from the book of failure to the book of success, you have moved in the only way that counts. But if you keep reading the book of failure while running around physically trying to succeed, you will fail. You cannot read one story and live another. Your physical actions are the result of the story you are reading, not the cause of it. This is why your struggle is futile. You are acting out the script of the book of failure while hoping for a happy ending. It cannot happen. You must close the book. You must stop the physical clamor and perform the mental act of selecting a new volume. This selection happens in silence. It happens in stillness. The senses are the great deceivers. They tell you that movement is proof of life. They tell you that if you are not seen to be doing something, you are nothing. The world applauds the busy man. It gives awards to the one who sleeps 4 hours a night and works himself to death. But the kingdom of heaven does not applaud him. The kingdom of heaven asks one question: where is your attention? Is your attention on the problem or on the solution? Most people are running around trying to solve problems while keeping their attention glued to the problem. This is a contradiction. You cannot solve a problem by being on the same level of consciousness that created it. You must rise above it. To rise above it, you must stop reacting to it. Reaction is the glue that binds you to the problem. Every time you get angry at the news, you bind yourself to the state of anger. Every time you worry about the bill, you bind yourself to the state of debt. You think your worry is a form of doing something. You think your anger is righteous. But in the world of energy, you are feeding the beast. You are giving your life force to the very thing you hate. To destroy a thing, you must deprive it of your attention. You must be still. You must cease the motion of reaction. This concept of non-action is terrifying to the ego because the ego defines itself by its struggle. The ego asks, who am I if I am not fighting this battle? Who am I if I am not the victim of this circumstance? The ego loves the drama of motion. It loves the adrenaline of the chase. It feels important when it is stressed. If you take away the fight, the ego feels like it is dying. That is why you feel such a compulsion to check the news, to check your phone, to respond to every insult. It is the addiction to motion. You feel that if you stop moving, you will disappear. But I tell you that you do not begin to truly exist until you stop moving. The motion of the senses is the sleep of the spirit. The stillness of the senses is the awakening of the spirit. When you learn to stand still in the midst of the storm, you become the master of the storm. When you learn to withhold your reaction to the bad news, you deprive the bad news of its power to reproduce itself. You become a circuit breaker. The wave of chaos hits you and stops. It does not pass through you to hit the next person. You transmute it. You turn the energy of war into the energy of peace simply by refusing to vibrate in harmony with it. Consider the flywheel. A heavy flywheel takes a lot of energy to get moving, but once it is spinning, it is hard to stop. Your life is like a flywheel. You have set it in motion with your past thoughts and reactions. The momentum of your past is pushing you forward. When you decide to stop reacting, the flywheel continues to spin for a while. The trouble continues. The bills still come. The people are still rude. This is the momentum of the past. The illusion of motion is most deceptive here. You think that because the wheel is still spinning, your change of mind did not work. You say, I tried being still and nothing happened. But you do not understand the law. You have taken your foot off the gas pedal. The car is coasting, but it is slowing down. If you panic and step on the gas again by reacting, you speed it up again. But if you remain still, if you refuse to be moved by the appearance of momentum, the wheel must eventually stop. And when it stops, you can turn it in a new direction. You must have the patience of a saint and the discipline of a soldier. You must ignore the evidence of the senses which reflect the past and hold to the vision of the inner stillness which creates the future. Let us look at the practical application of this in your relationships. You think that to fix a relationship, you must go to the person and talk and explain and do things. You think the motion of your lips will change their heart, but words are often just noise that confirms the separation. If you are coming from a state of neediness or a state of accusation, your words will only push them further away. The motion of chasing repels the object of desire. This is a law. When you run after something, you are affirming that it is running away from you. You are affirming distance. But when you stop, when you stand still in your own dignity, when you move your attention from the lack of the person to the presence of the person in your imagination, the dynamic changes. You stop the energy of chasing. You create a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. The other person feels the shift. They stop running because there is no one chasing them. They become curious. They feel the pull of your stillness. By doing nothing outwardly, you have done everything inwardly. You have changed the magnetic field of the relationship. This applies to money as well. Money runs from the desperate man. The man who works 20 hours a day out of fear of poverty is constantly affirming poverty. He is pushing wealth away with his frantic motion. But the man who rests in the feeling of abundance, who works from a place of inspiration rather than desperation, attracts resources. He moves less but accomplishes more. This is the economy of the spirit. You must begin to look at your life not as a series of physical events, but as a series of mental movements. Where did your mind go today? That is the question. Did your mind travel to the gutter of fear and dwell there? Did it travel to the hospital of sickness and dwell there? Or did it travel to the palace of abundance? You are a traveler in the mental world. Every time you think a thought, you are buying a ticket to a destination. Most people are buying tickets to hell while praying for heaven. They do not realize that their mental motion is carrying them away from their desire. You cannot go north by walking south. You cannot find health by dwelling on sickness. You cannot find peace by dwelling on war. You must stop the mental motion that is taking you in the wrong direction. You must get off the train. This getting off the train is what we call stillness. It is the refusal to continue the mental journey into darkness. It is the decision to stand still in the present moment and choose a new direction. The world clamors for your attention because it feeds on it. The media, the advertisers, the politicians, they all know this secret. They know that if they can capture your attention, they can control your reality. They use noise and color and fear to keep you in a state of constant mental motion. They want you jumping from one crisis to another because a confused mind is an obedient mind. When you are reacting, you are not creating. You are being created. You are a puppet, and they are pulling the strings. The only way to cut the strings is to stop moving. Turn off the noise. Close your eyes. Withdraw your attention from the outer screen. Reclaim your sovereignty. When you are still, you are no longer a demographic or a statistic or a consumer. You are a creator. You are the operant power. This is why silence is the most rebellious act you can perform. It is a declaration of independence from the collective hypnosis. You must understand that creation is finished. What you desire already exists. It does not need to be created, it needs to be accessed. You do not create water by making it rain, you access water that is already there. You do not create a radio station by tuning into it. The station is broadcasting whether you hear it or not. Your desire is broadcasting right now on a specific frequency, but you are tuned into the frequency of your problem. You are moving your dial back and forth, frantically picking up static and noise. You think this frantic tuning is effort. You think it is helpful, but you are missing the signal. To hear the station of your desire, you must stop turning the dial. You must tune into the feeling of the wish fulfilled and stay there. You must arrest the motion of the dial. This staying is the stillness we speak of. It is the ability to hold a state of consciousness despite the static of the world. It is the ability to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and fear no evil because you are tuned into the station of God. There is a rhythm to the universe, a sacred pulse. When you are in the illusion of motion, you are out of sync with this pulse. You are fighting the current of the divine river. You are exhausted because you are swimming upstream. Stillness is the act of letting go. It is the act of turning around and floating with the current. The current knows where to go. The current flows to the ocean of fulfillment. When you stop struggling, you join the flow. Things become easy. Doors open, people appear, money comes. Not because you fought for it, but because you allowed it. You stopped blocking the view with your frantic waving. You became transparent to the divine light. This is the paradox of power. The less you try to force things, the more power flows through you. The mind that is still is like a laser beam. It cuts through obstacles that a scattered mind cannot even scratch. The scattered mind is like a light bulb, illuminating everything a little bit but changing nothing. The still mind is concentrated energy. It burns its way to the manifestation. So tonight and in the days to come, I ask you to observe the illusion of motion in your life. Watch how you try to fix things with your hands that can only be fixed with your mind. Watch how you run from silence. Watch how you justify your busyness. And then try the experiment of stopping. When the urge to react rises, say to yourself, no, I will not move. I will stand here in my I amness. I will wait until the mud settles and the water is clear. I will not act out of fear. I will not speak out of anger. I will only move when I am moved by the Spirit. You will find that this practice creates a space in your life, a holy opening, and into that opening the power of God will rush. You will realize that you have been doing too much and being too little. You will realize that the world is not a place to be conquered by force, but a place to be inhabited by love. You will step off the hamster wheel of time and enter the sanctuary of eternity. And there in the stillness you will find the only thing you were ever really looking for. You will find yourself. If you have accepted the truth of our first section, then you now realize that the world of motion is a grand illusion of the senses. You understand that the frantic activity of men is but a shadow play, and that true causation lies within. But this realization brings us to a terrifying question. If the world is a shadow, and if my physical actions are merely effects, then where do I stand? If the ground beneath my feet is moving sand, where can I find a rock? If the storm is raging all around me, what prevents me from being swept away? To navigate the illusion of motion, you must find something that does not move. You must find a fixed point in a turning universe. This fixed point is what we call the anchor of the soul. Without this anchor, you are a ship without a rudder in a hurricane. You are at the mercy of every wave of circumstance and every wind of opinion. But with this anchor, you can ride out the fiercest storm and remain perfectly dry. Today, we journey inward to find this anchor. We journey past the body, past the emotions, past the intellect, and into the Holy of Holies. We journey to the discovery of the I Am. Beneath that restless motion of the surface mind, which we discussed earlier, lies a depth utterly still. There is within you a place that has never been hurt, that has never failed, and that has never been confused. It is the eternal I Am. That is your true self. That is the center from which all motion proceeds and to which all motion returns. You may call it consciousness or God or imagination or the Father. The name is unimportant. What matters is that you learn to identify yourself not with the waves but with the ocean itself. For as long as you believe yourself to be the waves, you will be tossed by every appearance. You will be swayed by every circumstance and frightened by every change. You will be like a cork bobbing on the water, helpless against the tide. The wave has a beginning and an end. The wave rises and crashes. It is born and it dies. If you identify with the wave, you live in the constant fear of death. You live in the fear of the end. But the ocean does not die when the wave crashes. The ocean remains. The ocean is the substance out of which the wave is made. When the wave crashes, it simply returns to the ocean. It returns to itself. You have spent your entire life identifying with the wave. You have spent your life building a little identity made of sand. You say, I am John. I am Mary. I am a father. I am a doctor. I am poor. I am sick. I am American. These are just names of waves. They are temporary conditions of the surface. They are costumes you put on for a scene in the play. But you have worn the costume for so long that you have forgotten you are an actor. You believe you are the character. And because the character is subject to tragedy, you believe you are subject to tragedy. But when you go deep into silence, you leave the name behind. You leave the condition behind. You take off the costume. You arrive at the simple feeling of being. You just are. You are not this or that. You are not rich or poor. You are not young or old. You are simply present. You are nameless and formless. This is the I am. This is the God in you. This is the anchor. When you recognize that the movement of the world is only the echo of your inner state, you will cease to fear. You will no longer react to appearances because you will know they are fluid and you are the solid rock. You will stand still, not in passivity, but in dominion. Consider the words of the psalmist, which you have heard 1,000 times, but perhaps never truly understood. Be still and know that I am God. This is not a command to sit in a church and be quiet. It is not a suggestion for relaxation. It is a mathematical formula for mastery. It is a statement of identity. It says that knowledge of your divinity comes only through stillness. You cannot know you are God while you are running around acting like a man. You cannot know you are the creator while you are fighting with the creation. You must stop. You must be still. And in that stillness, the knowledge rises up from the deep. It is not an intellectual knowledge found in books. It is a visceral knowing. It is a feeling of expansion where you realize that the world is inside you and not you inside the world. Let us analyze this stillness. There is within you a silent point, a holy center, untouched by time or circumstance. You have perhaps felt it in fleeting moments of great danger or great beauty. That strange stillness which remains even while the body moves and the mind races. It is the eye of the hurricane. The storm spins around it with violence, winds of 100 miles an hour tearing up the earth. But in the center there is zero wind. There is blue sky. There is perfect peace. You are that eye. The chaos of your life, the debts, the arguments, the sicknesses, they are the winds spinning around you. But they are not you. They are the circumference. You are the center. The world believes that stillness is the absence of power. They think the powerful man is the one shouting orders and moving armies. But I tell you, stillness is power itself. It is the throne of creation. It is the seat from which every law of manifestation is issued. The shouting man is weak because he is reacting. He is being moved by the chaos. The silent man is strong because he is choosing. He is the unmoved mover. When I speak of remaining unmoved, I do not mean indifference. I do not mean a frozen will or a heart of stone. I do not mean you should not care about your family or your world. I speak of an inner poise, a quiet mastery that knows the difference between what is real and what only appears. The spiritual master feels compassion, but he does not feel pity, because pity implies a belief in the reality of the suffering. Pity says the tragedy is real and the victim is helpless. Compassion says the tragedy is a nightmare and the victim is a sleeping God. The master knows the suffering is a state and he can pull the person out of the state by seeing them differently. But he cannot help them if he jumps into the quicksand with them. He must stand on the solid ground of the I am to pull them out. If a man is drowning, you do not drown yourself to help him. You throw him a rope while standing on the shore. Your stillness is the shore. Your I amness is the rock. When you identify yourself with the world of facts, you are forever tossed by its waves. You rejoice when things go well and despair when they turn against you. Your mood rises and falls with the winds of circumstance. You are a slave to the news report. You are a slave to the dollar. You are a slave to the opinion of your neighbor. This is the life of the wave. It is a life of instability. Today you are happy because you got a raise. Tomorrow you are miserable because you got a bill. Who is living your life? Is it you or is it the mailman? If your peace depends on what is in the mail, you are a slave. But when you abide in the awareness of being, when you anchor yourself in the still center of I am, you rise above the storm. You become the calm from which the storm draws its motion. Every event, every person, every condition in your life is a moving shadow upon this stillness. If you could but see that nothing outside of you possesses any power, you would rest this very moment. You would cease struggling to make things happen and would instead know that all things happen through you. This is the great reversal. You stop going to the world to get things and you start letting the world come to you. You become the magnet, and the magnet does not run after the iron filings. The magnet sits still and the filings rush to it. Why do men hurry? They hurry because they doubt. They hurry because they think their good is escaping them. They think if they do not grab it now, it will be gone. This is the consciousness of lack. But the one who knows I am God knows that everything exists within him. He cannot lose anything because he contains everything. He does not hurry because he is already there. This inner stillness is not emptiness. It is a fullness so vast it cannot be moved. It is the feeling of having arrived. When you pray, you must pray from this place of arrival. You must not pray as a beggar asking for a crumb. You must pray as a king claiming his territory. The king sits on his throne and speaks, and his word becomes law. He does not run into the streets to enforce his law. He speaks and his armies move. Your army is the army of circumstances. They will move when you sit still and decree a thing. But you cannot decree anything while you are shaking with fear. The voice of authority is a quiet voice. It is a steady voice. It comes from the depth. We must speak of the nature of the anchor. An anchor is a device used to connect a vessel to the bed of a body of water to prevent the craft from drifting due to wind or current. Your mind is the vessel. The ocean is the collective consciousness of humanity, which is turbulent and chaotic. The wind is the news, the gossip, the negativity of the world. If you do not have an anchor, you will drift. You will drift into states of fear. You will drift into states of poverty. You will drift into states of sickness. You do not choose to go there, you just drift there because the current takes you. To stop drifting, you must drop the anchor. What is the anchor? The anchor is your definition of yourself. It is your conviction of who you are. When you drop the anchor, you say, I am that I am. You define yourself independently of the evidence of your senses. The senses say you are broke. The anchor says, I am wealthy. The senses say you are alone. The anchor says, I am loved. The senses say you are weak. The anchor says, I am strong. The anchor goes down into the deep invisible reality and hooks onto the truth. The surface water may still be choppy. The boat may still rock a little, but it will not drift. It will hold its position. And eventually, because the boat is holding its position, the water around it will calm down. Your stability calms the storm. Most people try to anchor themselves in the outer world. They try to anchor themselves in their money. But money can be lost. They try to anchor themselves in their relationships. But people can leave. They try to anchor themselves in their reputation. But reputation can be ruined. These are false anchors. They are made of sand. When the storm comes, these anchors break and the ship is lost. The only true anchor is within. It is the awareness of your own being. It is the part of you that was there before you were born and will be there after you die. It is the part of you that observes the dream. You must begin to practice the presence of this observer. When you are angry, ask yourself, who is aware of this anger? You will realize that there are two of you. There is the angry self, the little ego reacting to the insult. And there is the silent watcher, the big self observing the anger. The watcher is not angry. The watcher is calm. The watcher is detached. As soon as you shift your identity to the watcher, the anger loses its fire. It dissolves. This is how you drop the anchor. You step back. You disidentify. You say, I have a body, but I am not the body. I have feelings, but I am not the feelings. I have thoughts, but I am not the thoughts. I am the witness. I am the silence. This is not a psychological trick. This is a return to sanity. Sanity is knowing who you are. Insanity is forgetting who you are. The prodigal son forgot who he was and ate with the pigs. The moment he remembered he was the son of a rich father, he returned home. You are the prodigal son. You have forgotten you are God, and you are eating the pig slop of fear and limitation. Come home. Come back to the Father. The Father is your own wonderful human imagination. The Father is the I Am. When you return to this center, you put the ring of power back on your finger and the robe of glory back on your shoulders. Think of a time when you were in a deep sleep. Where was your trouble then? Where was your debt? Where was your enemy? They did not exist for you. You were resting in the deep. Then you woke up and remembered them, and instantly you picked up the heavy burden again. Why? Because you anchored yourself back into the problem. You can choose to wake up and anchor yourself in the solution. You can choose to anchor yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It takes practice. It takes discipline. The mind loves to drift. It loves the drama of the storm. You must train it like a wild horse. You must gently but firmly bring it back to the anchor, back to the I Am. When you live from this anchor, you become a person of weight. Not physical weight, but spiritual weight. People can feel it. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere changes. Your stability stabilizes others. Your peace brings peace to others. You do not have to say anything. Your very presence is a command. This is what it means to preach the gospel without words. You are broadcasting a signal of safety. In a world that is terrified, everyone is looking for safety. They will be drawn to you because you are safe. You are the rock in a weary land. But you cannot be the rock for others until you are the rock for yourself. You must conquer your own inner sea. You must look at your own demons and not blink. You must face the facts of your life and deny their final authority. You must look at the bank statement that says zero and say, I am abundance. You must look at the doctor's report and say, I am health. You must hold the tension between the outer fact and the inner truth until the outer fact cracks and crumbles and reassembles itself to match the inner truth. This is the work of the anchor. It holds the ship in place against the pressure of the current until the tide turns. And the tide always turns. So I ask you today to examine your foundation. Upon what are you building your house? Are you building it on the shifting sands of public opinion and economic forecasts? Or are you building it on the rock of your own I Am? The rains will come, the floods will rise, the winds will blow and beat against that house. If it is on sand, it will fall. If it is on rock, it will stand. Be the rock. Find that place inside you where there is no fear. It is there, dig for it. It is covered by layers of conditioning, layers of trauma, layers of belief. Dig through them. Throw them aside. Keep digging until you hit the bedrock of your own being. When you find it, you will know. You will feel a rush of power that is not of this world. You will feel a peace that passes all understanding. You will realize that you have been a king dreaming he was a beggar, and you will never go back to sleep again. You will stand at the helm of your ship, the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. You will sail through the storms of life with a smile on your face, because you know the secret. You know that you are the ocean, and the storm is just a game you are playing on the surface. You are safe. You are eternal. You are God. We have established that the world of motion is an illusion, and we have found the anchor of the soul in the deep awareness of being. Now we move from the sanctuary of theory to the battlefield of daily life. It is one thing to feel peaceful when you are sitting alone in your meditation chair with your eyes closed and the world shut out. It is quite another thing to maintain that peace when the phone rings with bad news, when the bank account shows a negative balance, or when a loved one speaks a harsh word. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where your spiritual maturity is tested. The world is a constant demand for your reaction. From the moment you step out your door, the world clamors for your attention. It screams, look at this tragedy. Look at this injustice. Look at this lack. It demands that you confirm its reality by reacting to it. Most people are puppets, and the world pulls the strings of their emotions. A headline pulls the string of fear, and they tremble. An insult pulls the string of anger, and they rage. A compliment pulls the string of pride, and they puff up. They have no life of their own. They are merely a series of reactions to external stimuli. But the student of the silence, the master of the I Am, cuts the strings. He learns the supreme power of the art of non-reaction. You must understand that reaction is confirmation. When you react to a circumstance, you are signing a spiritual contract with it. You are agreeing that it is real. You are agreeing that it has power over you. And most importantly, you are feeding it your life force. Consciousness is the only reality, and consciousness needs to be fed by attention. When you give your attention to a problem in the form of an emotional reaction, you are feeding the problem. You are making it stronger. You are cementing it into your timeline. The art of non-reaction is the refusal to sign the contract. It is the refusal to feed the beast. It is the ability to look at a fact and deny its final authority. This is not suppression. Suppression is when you feel the anger and you push it down into your stomach and pretend you are fine while you are boiling inside. That is destruction. Non-reaction is different. Non-reaction is a state of high spiritual elevation, where you see the event, you see the person, but you see them as shadows. You realize that they are only reflecting a past state of your own consciousness. You do not fight the shadow. You simply do not engage with it. You withhold your consent. Let us look at the mechanics of this. Everything in your visible world is a crystallized past thought. It is dead. It has no power to hurt you unless you resurrect it with your present reaction. When you receive a bill that you cannot pay, the bill itself is neutral paper and ink. It has no power. But the moment you look at it and react with fear, the moment your heart races and your stomach churns, you have breathed life into the dragon. You have taken your precious creative energy and poured it into the image of debt. Now the debt is alive. Now it will reproduce itself. It will bring you more bills. It will block your income. Not because the paper had power, but because you gave it power. The art of non-reaction teaches you to look at the bill and withdraw your energy. You look at it with the cold detachment of a stranger. You say to yourself, this is an appearance. It is a shadow of my past poverty thinking. I will not feed it. I will not fear it. I will place my attention on the feeling of abundance instead. By denying the reaction, you starve the debt. And what is starved must die. It must fade from your world. This applies powerfully to human relationships. Someone insults you. They speak a word of criticism or disrespect. The habit of the old man is to defend, to attack back, to prove them wrong. This is the law of the jungle. It is action and reaction. But the law of the spirit is different. When you react to an insult, you are accepting the gift of the insult. If someone hands you a bag of trash and you take it, you are now holding the trash. But if you refuse to take it, they are left holding it. When you react, you are taking the trash. You are saying, I accept this definition of myself. I agree that I am insultable. But the master practices non-reaction. He hears the words, but he does not accept the vibration. He stands in his citadel of silence. He knows that the other person is only acting out a state of pain or confusion. He does not take it personally because he knows he is the I Am. He knows that his value is not determined by the opinion of a sleeping man, so he remains unmoved. And because he does not react, the cycle of conflict is broken. The fire has no oxygen. The argument dies before it can be born. There is a tremendous power in this withheld energy. Every time you want to react but you do not, you are saving a massive amount of psychic energy. This energy does not disappear. It accumulates. It becomes a reservoir of spiritual power. It builds up what the ancients called a magnetic atmosphere. Have you ever met a person who says very little but whose presence fills the room? They have this power. They have conserved the energy that others waste on petty reactions. This accumulated power is what you use to manifest your desires. When you react to every little thing, you are leaking your power. You are like a steam engine with 1,000 holes in the boiler. You have no pressure to drive the wheels. But when you plug the holes, when you practice non-reaction, you build up the steam. You become a force of nature. Your word becomes law. Your imaginal acts manifest instantly because they are backed by the full weight of your conserved energy. Mid-roll call to action. Before we continue deeper into the practical application of this art, I want to invite you to join our community here. If you are realizing that you have been a slave to your reactions, and you are ready to reclaim your sovereignty, subscribe to this channel. We are building a sanctuary for those who are ready to stop being puppets and start being masters. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. By doing so, you are not just following a channel, you are making a vow to your higher self to prioritize your spiritual freedom. Let us walk this path of mastery together. Now, let us return to the technique of the inner citadel. You must build an inner citadel, a fortress of silence where you can retreat when the world attacks. The materials of this citadel are your convictions. You build it with the knowledge that imagination creates reality. You build it with the knowledge that you are God playing a part. When the news comes that the market has crashed, or the diagnosis is bad, or the relationship is ending, you do not stand out in the open field of your mind to be shot at. You retreat into the citadel. You go within. You say to yourself, "This report is false. It contradicts my inner knowing. I abide in the state of health. I abide in the state of wealth. I abide in the state of love." You close the gates of your senses. You refuse to look at the evidence of the wreckage. You look only at the blueprint of perfection in your heart. This is what it means to walk by faith and not by sight. It is a stubborn refusal to be moved by the appearance of evil. The world will call you delusional. They will say you are in denial. They will say you must face reality. But they do not know that what they call reality is just a solidified nightmare. You are the one waking up. You are the one facing the true reality, which is the invisible cause. Do not argue with them. Do not try to explain your silence. Just be silent. Let the result speak for you. When you remain unmoved in the face of disaster, the disaster dissolves. It loses its structural integrity because it is sustained only by human belief. When you withdraw your belief, the structure collapses. You will see miracles happen. You will see the diagnosis reversed. You will see the money appear from nowhere. You will see the relationship healed. And the world will say you were lucky. But you will know it was not luck. It was the law of non-reaction. Let us discuss the psychological mechanism of the pause. Between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. In the average person, this space is infinitesimal. They are touched and they scream instantly. They are purely mechanical. But in the master, this space is vast. In this space lies your freedom. When the event happens, you must widen the gap. You must take a breath. You must step back mentally. In that gap, you have a choice. You can choose to play the old script of the victim, or you can choose to write a new script of the victor. The non-reaction is the widening of the gap. It is the conscious insertion of time between the event and your judgment of the event. During this pause, you remind yourself, I am the operant power. This event has no meaning other than the meaning I give it. If I react with fear, I give it the meaning of danger. If I react with calm, I give it the meaning of a challenge to be overcome. If I react with indifference, I deprive it of meaning altogether. This art requires you to become a watcher of your own mind. You must develop a split consciousness. One part of you is living in the world, interacting, doing your job, paying your taxes. The other part of you is hovering above, watching the play. The watcher never reacts. The watcher simply observes. When you feel the surge of anger rising, the watcher says, look at that. The little self is angry. The little self feels threatened. Isn't that interesting? By observing the emotion, you separate yourself from it. You are no longer the anger, you are the awareness of the anger. And in that separation, the anger loses its grip. It flows through you like water through a sieve instead of hitting you like a rock. You become transparent to the negative energy. It passes right through you, leaving no trace. Consider the metaphor of the dead phone line. The world is constantly calling you on the telephone of your senses. It calls to tell you about wars and plagues and rumors of wars. It calls to tell you that you are not good enough. Most people pick up the phone and engage in the conversation. They argue with the caller, they get upset, they cry. But you have the power to cut the line. You have the power to leave the phone off the hook. When the thoughts of worry come knocking, do not answer the door. You know who is there. It is the old man trying to get his house back. If you do not answer, he will knock for a while and then he will go away. He requires your attention to survive. If you practice non-reaction, you are essentially becoming invisible to the problems of the world. They look for a place to land, but they find no landing strip in your consciousness. So they fly on to someone else who is willing to receive them. This does not mean you become a doormat. It does not mean you allow people to abuse you physically. You can take physical action to protect yourself or to set boundaries, but you do it without internal vibration. You do it with a cool head. You fire the dishonest employee not out of rage but out of clarity. You leave the abusive partner not out of hate but out of self-respect. The action is the same, but the energy is different. The action taken from stillness is effective and final. The action taken from reaction is messy and creates karma. When you act from stillness, you are cutting the cord cleanly. When you act from reaction, you are tangling the cord further. You must learn to look at the world as if you were looking at a movie. When you watch a movie and the villain appears, you do not run up to the screen and try to punch him. You know he is just light and shadow. You sit back and eat your popcorn. You might feel suspense, but you know it is a script. Treat your life this way. When the villain appears in your office or in your home, see him as an actor. He is playing a role. He is reciting lines. He is doing a good job of being the villain. Applaud his performance internally and then rewrite his script. But do not forget it is a movie. Do not get so lost in the plot that you think the gun is real and the bullet can kill your soul. Your soul is the light that projects the movie. The light cannot be hurt by the image of the bullet. There is a sacred indifference you must cultivate. It is not an indifference to the well-being of others, but an indifference to the illusion of facts. Neville Goddard called this a divine apathy. It is the ability to look at a bank statement that says you are broke and feel absolutely nothing, no panic, no despair, just a neutral observation of a passing state. This neutrality is the vacuum into which abundance rushes. If you look at the zero and feel panic, you are cementing the zero. If you look at the zero and feel nothing, you are creating space for the millions. You must become unimpressed by the world. The world tries to impress you with its size and its noise. Do not be impressed. Be unimpressed by the diagnosis. Be unimpressed by the rejection. Be unimpressed by the mountain. Say to the mountain, you are nothing but a shadow. I move you with my mind. This takes practice. You will fail. You will react. You will lose your temper. You will fall into fear. Do not judge yourself. That is just another reaction. If you react, simply notice it. Say, I reacted. I forgot who I am, and then return to the silence. Do not compound the error by feeling guilty. Guilt is a reaction to your own failure. Drop the guilt. Drop the past. Start again in the eternal now. Every moment is a fresh opportunity to practice non-reaction. Every moment is a choice point. You are building a muscle. At first, the muscle is weak and the weight of the world is heavy. But day by day, as you refuse to feed the negativity, the muscle grows stronger. Soon you will be able to lift heavy burdens with ease. You will be able to walk through fire and not be burned. Think of the royalty of the spirit. A king does not engage in a shouting match with a peasant. It is beneath his dignity. He maintains his composure. You are royalty. You are the child of the Most High. When you engage in petty arguments, when you worry about petty things, you are forgetting your lineage. You are descending from the throne to roll in the mud. Stand up, brush off the mud. Ascend the throne. Wear the crown of the I Am. From that height, the problems of the world look like toys. They look like ants. You do not fear ants. You step over them. This is the perspective of the silence. It elevates you. It gives you the bird's eye view of the labyrinth so you can see the way out while others are lost in the maze. The world is a school of reaction. It is designed to test your poise. Every irritating person is a teacher. Every delay is a lesson. Every loss is an exam. Are you passing the exam? Or are you failing and having to repeat the grade? The lesson is always the same. Can you remain you in the face of this? Can you remember you are God when the world says you are a failure? When you can answer yes, the exam is over. The circumstance changes. The teacher disappears. You graduate to the next level of power. But as long as you react, you are failing the class. You will be kept in the same situation with the same annoying people until you learn the lesson of silence. So I challenge you to make a game of this. See how long you can go today without reacting negatively to anything. Treat it like a secret experiment. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of cursing them, smile. Feel the surge of power that comes from keeping your peace. When the coffee spills, instead of complaining, say it is nothing. Watch how your day transforms. You will feel a lightness, a joy bubbling up from within. You will realize that your happiness was never dependent on what happened to you. It was dependent on how you responded to what happened. You hold the key to your own prison cell. The key is silence. The key is non-reaction. As we prepare to enter the deeper mystery of the silence of God, remember that you are the gatekeeper of your own temple. Nothing can enter your mind without your permission. A thought of fear knocks at the door. You do not have to open it. You can look through the peephole, see it as fear, and leave the door locked. You are safe in your citadel. Let the storm rage outside. Inside there is only the warm fire of your conviction. Inside there is only the knowing that I am. This is the peace that passes understanding. This is the victory that overcomes the world. Before we enter the deeper mystery of the silence of God, I want to invite you to join our community here. If you are realizing that you have been a slave to your reactions and you are ready to reclaim your sovereignty, subscribe to this channel. We are building a sanctuary for those who are ready to stop being puppets of circumstance and start being masters of their destiny. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. By doing so, you are making a vow to your higher self to prioritize your spiritual freedom. Let us walk this path of mastery together. Now, let us discover the meaning of the silence. There comes a moment in every man's spiritual journey when he faces the most terrifying and yet the most necessary test of all. It is the moment after the prayer. You have done the work. You have withdrawn into the silence. You have constructed the scene of your wish fulfilled. You have felt the reality of it with all the sensory vividness you can muster. You have applied the golden rule and revised your past. You have done everything that the law requires, and then you open your eyes and you look at the world, and nothing has changed. The bank account is still empty, the body is still in pain, the loved one is still distant. The world stands before you like a wall of granite, hard and immovable and silent. It is in this silent interval that the vast majority of seekers turn back. They fall into the abyss of doubt. They cry out, asking why God has not heard them. They ask why the law has failed them. They begin to scramble and force outcomes with their physical hands because they cannot bear the vacuum of the unknown. But I tell you today that this silence is not the absence of God. It is the presence of God in His most creative aspect. This silence is not the sign of failure. It is the proof of gestation. It is the silence of God, and it is the womb from which your miracle is born. You must understand the nature of the interval. Between the planting of a seed and the harvest of the fruit, there is always an interval of time. This interval is determined by the nature of the seed. If you plant a carrot seed, you wait a few weeks. If you plant an acorn, you wait many years for the oak. You do not panic when the acorn disappears into the earth. You do not stand over the soil and scream at it to produce the tree instantly. You know that the seed has its own appointed hour. But when it comes to the seeds of our desire, we lose all wisdom. We plant the seed of wealth or health in our imagination, and if we do not see it in 24 hours, we dig it up. We dig it up with our doubts. We dig it up with our fears. We dig it up by asking how and when. We look at the silence of the soil and we interpret it as death. But the silence of the soil is not death. It is the highest form of activity. Underneath the surface, in the darkness, where no eye can see, the shell of the seed is breaking. The roots are pushing down. The shoot is pushing up. A massive biological transformation is taking place. But it is taking place in silence. The silence is necessary. If you were to expose the seed to the sunlight too soon, it would die. It needs the darkness. It needs the silence. This is exactly what is happening with your imaginal acts. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have planted a spiritual seed in the womb of the universe. That seed contains within itself the power and the plan to manifest itself. It has its own way of unfolding that you know not of. It immediately begins to rearrange the structure of the universe to bring about your desire. It begins to influence people. It begins to set up coincidences. It begins to build a bridge of incidents across time and space. But you cannot see this bridge yet. You are standing on the near shore, and the bridge is being built in the fog. The silence of God is the fog that protects the operation of the law. God works in ways that are higher than your ways. If you could see the complexity of the machinery that is moving to fulfill your desire, you would be paralyzed with awe. But you cannot see it. You are only asked to trust it. You are asked to endure the silence without wavering. This is the patience of the saints. This is the faith that moves mountains. Faith is not believing that God will do it. Faith is the knowledge that it is already done, and the patience to wait for the visibility of it. The silence is the test of your conviction. Anyone can believe they are rich when they have $1 million in their hand. Anyone can believe they are healthy when they feel strong. That is not faith, that is sense perception. But can you believe you are rich when the creditors are calling? Can you believe you are healthy when the pain is still there? Can you stand in the silence of the evidence and maintain your inner speech? That is the test. The silence strips away the pretenders. It reveals who is really loyal to the vision and who is just playing a game. The silence forces you to rely entirely on your inner knowing. It forces you to turn away from the senses and find your anchor in the I am. When the outer world gives you no confirmation, you must find the confirmation within. You must reach the point where your own inner acceptance is enough. When you are satisfied with the inner reality, you will not be disturbed by the outer silence. You will know that the silence is just the wrapper on the gift. Many of you are killing your manifestations because you cannot handle the silence. You function like a nervous child who puts a cake in the oven and opens the door every 2 minutes to see if it is baking. By opening the door, you let the heat out. You ruin the cake. You must keep the door closed. You must keep the heat contained. The heat is your feeling of the wish fulfilled. The door is your sensory perception. Keep the door closed to the senses. Do not look for signs. Do not ask for validation. The moment you ask for a sign, you are admitting that you do not have the thing. If you had it, you would not ask for a sign. Signs follow, they do not precede. The silence is the oven. Let the work be done in the heat of the silence. Do not let the cold air of doubt enter your chamber. There is a profound mystery in the scripture that says, "Be still and know." We discussed this stillness as a state of mind, but now we must apply it to the state of waiting. The waiting is not a passive waiting. It is an active, expectant waiting. It is the waiting of a pregnant woman. A pregnant woman does not wonder if she is pregnant. She knows. She feels the life within her. She does not see the baby's face yet. She does not hold the baby in her arms yet. But she prepares the room. She buys the clothes. She names the child. She acts as though the child is a reality, because in her world it is a reality. She does not worry that the silence of the womb means the baby is not growing. She trusts the wisdom of her body to bring forth the life in the appointed time. You must be like that mother. You are pregnant with your desire. The silence you feel is the silence of the womb. It is a holy silence. Do not violate it with your anxiety. Do not try to force the birth before the time. If you force the birth, you get a miscarriage. You get a partial manifestation that does not last. You must let the child come to term. Why does God speak in silence? Because words are too small to contain the truth. Words are symbols, but silence is the substance. When you are in love with someone and you sit with them in a room, you do not need to speak. The silence between you is filled with love. It is a communicative silence. The silence of God is like that. It is not an empty void, it is a fullness. It is a silence that is shouting, "I am." If you listen closely to the silence, you will hear the voice of your fulfillment. You will feel the vibration of your success. But you cannot hear it if you are screaming with fear. You cannot hear it if you are complaining to your friends that it hasn't happened yet. You must match the silence of God with the silence of your own trust. You must become a quiet vessel so that you can receive the wine of the Spirit. Let us discuss the temptation to help God. This is the greatest trap of the intellect. The intellect looks at the silence and says, nothing is happening, so I must make something happen. I must force the issue. I must manipulate the people. I must struggle. This is the way of the world, and it is the way of sorrow. When you try to help God, you are actually interfering with the law. You are like a man who tries to push the river. You only create turbulence. You disturb the natural flow of events. You must realize that your dimensionally larger self has ways and means that your conscious mind knows not of. It has the power to influence the minds of others without their knowledge. It has the power to arrange events that look like accidents. When you interfere with your physical will, you block these higher avenues. You jam the machinery. You must learn to keep your hands off the ark. The Ark of the Covenant represents the presence of God. In the ancient story, the man who touched the ark to steady it died. This means that when you try to steady your manifestation with your mortal anxiety, you kill the power. You must trust that the ark is being carried by angels. This interval of silence is also a time of purification. It burns away your attachments. It burns away your need for external validation. It teaches you to stand alone. You must reach the place where you do not need the world to agree with you. You must reach the place where you are so convinced of your imaginal act that if the whole world told you it was impossible, you would simply smile and walk on. This is the stature of the Master. The Master does not need a cheering section. The Master stands in the silence of his own authority. This silence builds spiritual muscle. It creates a vacuum that draws the manifestation to you with irresistible force. The longer the silence, the greater the manifestation. If you have been waiting a long time, do not be discouraged. It means the root system is going deep. It means the building is going to be a skyscraper, and skyscrapers need deep foundations. A chicken coop can be built in a day, but a cathedral takes time. If your silence is long, it is because you are building a cathedral. Consider the silence of the composer. Before he writes a note, there is silence. Between the notes, there is silence. The music comes out of the silence. If there were no silence, there would be no music, only noise. Your life is a symphony. The periods of inactivity are the rests in the score. They give meaning to the action. Do not despise the rests. Do not rush through them. In the silence, you are gathering potential. You are gathering momentum. You are like an arrow being pulled back on the bowstring. The pulling back looks like a retreat. It looks like you are going backward, but you are actually building the tension that will launch you forward. The further back you are pulled, the farther you will fly. The silence is the tension of the bow. Hold it. Do not let go too soon. Let the tension build until the release is automatic. There is a difference between the silence of apathy and the silence of expectancy. Apathy says, I give up, nothing is happening. Expectancy says, I am ready, I am watching. The watchman in the tower waits for the dawn. He does not see the sun yet, but he knows it is coming. He watches the horizon with intensity. He is silent, but he is alert. You must be the watchman. Watch your mind. Watch your reactions. Keep your lamp trimmed and burning. Do not fall asleep in the silence. Maintain your mood. If you slip out of the mood of the wish fulfilled, gently bring yourself back. Use the silence to reinforce your vision. Use the silence to give thanks. Say, thank you, Father, that thou hast heard me. Say it even when the room is empty. Say it even when the cupboard is bare. The gratitude in the silence is the key that unlocks the door. We must also address the fear that you have done it wrong. The silence often whispers to you, maybe I didn't imagine clearly enough. Maybe I have a block. Maybe I am not worthy. These are the voices of the demons in the wilderness. Do not listen to them. They are trying to get you to dig up the seed. They want you to start over. But if you start over every day, you never get a harvest. You must assume that you did it right. You must assume that God heard you the first time. You do not need to scream at God. You do not need to repeat the act perfectly 1,000 times. Once is enough if it has the ring of reality. Trust your own work. Trust your own imagination. The doubt is an insult to your own divinity. When you doubt, You are saying that God is incompetent. You are saying that the law is erratic. But the law is not erratic. The law is sure. The silence is not a sign of error, it is a sign of processing. Imagine you order a package online. After you click buy, there is a period of silence. You do not see the warehouse. You do not see the truck. You do not see the driver. But you trust the system. You wait for the delivery. You do not call the company every 5 minutes screaming, "Where is it?" You know it is coming. Why do you have more faith in Amazon than you do in the creator of the universe? The universe has a delivery system that is flawless. It never loses a package, but it delivers on its own schedule, not yours. Your job is to order and then to receive. The time in between is the time of silence. Occupy yourself during the silence. Live your life. Do the things that are in front of you. Do not sit by the window waiting for the truck. That is a state of lack. That is a state of waiting. And waiting creates more waiting. Live as though you already have the package. This is the secret. When the silence becomes unbearable, recall the story of the butterfly. The caterpillar spins a cocoon and enters the silence. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar completely dissolves. It becomes a soup of cells. It loses its identity. It dies to its old self. To an observer, it looks like a dead casing. There is no movement. There is no sound. But inside, the miracle of metamorphosis is happening. Wings are forming. Colors are creating. If you were to cut open the cocoon to help the butterfly, you would kill it. It needs the struggle of the silence to push fluid into its wings so it can fly. You are in the cocoon. Your old self is dissolving. Your new self is forming. The silence is the pressure chamber. Do not cut the cocoon. Endure the pressure. It is making you strong enough to fly. It is making you ready for the new altitude of your life. The silence of God is the ultimate respect for your free will. God does not force himself upon you. He waits for you to choose. And once you have chosen, he waits for you to trust. He will not violate your state of consciousness. If you abandon the state, he will not hold it for you. You must hold it. You must stand in the emptiness and declare it full. You must stand in the darkness and declare it light. This is what it means to be a creator. A creator does not need evidence. A creator creates evidence. You are creating the evidence in the silence. You are condensing the energy of thought into the matter of fact. This condensation happens in the cool, quiet chambers of the soul. So I ask you today to make friends with the silence. Do not fear it. Do not run from it. Embrace it as your lover. Wrap yourself in the cloak of the silence. It is the cloak of power. When the world ignores you, rejoice. It means you are being hidden for a purpose. When the answers do not come, rejoice. It means the answer is too big to come in words. It is coming in form. When you feel alone, rejoice. It means you are with the Father. In that solitude, you will find the strength that the world knows not of. You will find the peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away. You will find that the silence is not empty, it is full of the presence of the I Am. Let the world clamor. Let the heathens rage. Let the people imagine a vain thing. You sit in your tower of silence and watch the dawn break. You know what is coming because you ordered the sun to rise. You know the victory is yours because you fought the battle in the imagination and won. The physical victory is just the mop-up operation. The real work is done. The silence is the Sabbath after the work. It is the rest of the God who looked at his creation and saw that it was good. Look at your imaginal act. See that it is good. And rest. Rest in the silence. For in the silence, God is moving mightily on your behalf. We have traversed the illusion of motion, and we have anchored our souls in the deep awareness of being. We have learned the art of non-reaction, and we have stood firm in the silence of God. Now we arrive at the crown jewel of the creative process. We arrive at the mystery of the Sabbath. When you hear the word Sabbath, your mind likely goes to a day of the week. You think of a Sunday or a Saturday set aside for religious observance or physical rest. But I tell you that the true Sabbath has nothing to do with the calendar. It has nothing to do with rituals or buildings made of stone. The Sabbath is a mystical state of consciousness. It is the mental rest that follows a successful spiritual pregnancy. It is the state you enter when you have successfully impregnated your subconscious mind with your desire, and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is done, it is the stillness of fulfillment. It is the deep exhale of the soul that says, it is finished. Understanding this state is the difference between those who manifest their desires effortlessly and those who struggle in vain for a lifetime. You must understand that creation is not a continuous act. Creation is a finished act. The blueprints of every possible reality already exist in the quantum field of God's mind. When you imagine a state, you are not creating it from scratch, you are selecting it. You are stepping into it. And once you have fully stepped into it, once you have felt the reality of it to the point of naturalness, you must enter the Sabbath. You must rest. This rest is not a passive laziness. It is a dynamic state of faith. It is the refusal to worry. It is the refusal to doubt. It is the refusal to look for evidence. If you are still anxious about how your desire will come to pass, you have not entered the Sabbath. If you are still checking the mail for the check with a trembling hand, you have not entered the Sabbath. If you are still asking people for advice on how to get what you want, you have not entered the Sabbath. The Sabbath is the state of mind where you no longer desire the thing because you feel that you already have it. You cannot desire what you already possess. Therefore, the cessation of desire is the proof of the conception. Let us use the analogy of pregnancy again, for it is the most accurate description of this spiritual law. When a woman becomes pregnant, she has done the work of conception. The seed has been planted. Now what does she do? Does she try to get pregnant again every day? Does she worry every morning whether she is still pregnant? Does she try to force the baby to grow faster by straining her muscles? No. She enters a physical Sabbath regarding the conception. She goes about her life. She eats, she sleeps, she works, she laughs. She knows that the child is growing. She knows that a wisdom greater than her conscious mind is knitting together the bones and sinews of the new life. She rests in the absolute certainty of the harvest. This is exactly what you must do with your imaginal acts. You have planted the seed of wealth or health or love. You have watered it with the feeling of reality. Now you must let it be. You must keep your mental hands off of it. You must trust that the spiritual embryo is growing in the dark and that it will come to birth at the appointed hour. The tragedy of the modern seeker is that they cannot bear the Sabbath. They are addicted to effort. They have been taught that if they are not struggling, they are not deserving. They believe that they must help God. They plant the seed in the morning and they dig it up in the afternoon to see if it has sprouted. They analyze their faith. They question their technique. They look at the outer world and scream that nothing is happening. By doing this, they are performing a spiritual abortion. They are disrupting the gestation process. They are pulling the seed out of the fertile soil of the subconscious and exposing it to the scorching heat of their doubt. And then they wonder why the seed dies. It died because you would not let it rest. You would not give it the Sabbath it required to grow. To enter the Sabbath requires a discipline of steel. It requires you to look at the empty bank account and feel the fullness of wealth. It requires you to look at the sickness and feel the wholeness of health. It requires you to walk through the world of Caesar without being moved by its shadows. Patience is the watchword of the Sabbath. But patience is not waiting in despair. Patience is not gritting your teeth and enduring the absence of your desire. True patience is the serene assurance that the work is finished. It is the feeling of Saturday afternoon when the work week is done and you have nothing to do but enjoy the sunset. It is a feeling of relief. If you are visualizing your desire and you feel tension, you are doing it wrong. You are trying to force it. But if you visualize your desire and you feel a wave of relief wash over you, followed by a quiet joy, then you have succeeded. You have entered the Sabbath. That relief is the signal that the subconscious has accepted the order. Once the order is accepted, the delivery is inevitable. You do not need to call the delivery company every 5 minutes. You just need to wait for the doorbell to ring. The one who doubts says, "But I see no change." The one who knows says it is done. This distinction is vital. The world is a mirror of your past thoughts. It takes time for the mirror to update its reflection. During that time lag, you must remain loyal to the unseen reality. If you react to the lack of change, you are reactivating the old state. You are telling the subconscious, "I was just kidding, I am still poor." And the subconscious says, very well, you are still poor. You must have the boldness to ignore the mirror. You must have the audacity to walk by faith and not by sight. The Sabbath is the practice of walking by faith. It is the practice of living in the end. When you live in the end, you are not waiting for the end to come. You are already there mentally. And because you are there mentally, you are at rest. You are not striving to get there. You cannot add effort to faith and call it devotion. This is a mistake many religious people make. They pray for something and then they worry about it. They think their worry shows God how much they care. But worry is an insult to God. Worry is a declaration that you do not trust the power of your own imagination. Faith, when pure, is rest. It is a laying down of burdens. It is the yoke that is easy and the burden that is light. If your spiritual practice feels heavy, if it feels like a chore, if it feels like you are pushing a boulder up a hill, then you are not in faith, you are in effort. You are trying to do with your conscious mind what can only be done by the deeper mind. The conscious mind selects the seed. The deeper mind grows the tree. Do not try to do the deeper mind's job. It knows how to arrange the molecules of the universe. You do not. Your only job is to sustain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To rest is not to abandon the desire, but to abide in it. There is a difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is a state of defeat. Letting go is a state of trust. When you give up, you say it will never happen. When you let go, you say it has already happened, so I do not need to struggle. The Sabbath is the state of letting go. It is the state of abiding. To abide means to live in. You live in the house of your desire. You sleep in the bed of your desire. You wear the clothes of your desire. You do this all in your imagination. And because you are living in it, you are not looking for it. You do not look for your glasses when they are on your face. You do not look for your house when you are sitting in your living room. You are at rest regarding them. This naturalness is the key. The Sabbath feels natural. It feels normal. It feels like you. You may look upon your life now and say, but nothing changes. Then I ask you, have you remained faithful to the inner knowing? Have you allowed doubt to dictate your vision? Or have you stood unmoved, anchored in the quiet recognition that your assumption is law? If you have remained faithful, then rejoice, for the unseen is already moving on your behalf. It is arranging, aligning, and preparing the outer reflection of your steadfast heart. The machinery of the universe is vast and complex. It involves the movement of millions of people. It involves the shifting of circumstances. It involves the timing of events. You cannot see this machinery working, but it is working. It is working in the silence. It is working in the dark. The moment you enter the Sabbath, the gears begin to turn. The moment you break the Sabbath by doubting, the gears stop. Keep the gears turning by keeping your rest. So when nothing happens, be glad. Be glad because you know that the silence is the womb of fulfillment. Be glad because you know that you are being tested and you are passing the test. You have entered the highest faith, the faith that no longer needs confirmation. You have become the master of appearances, the ruler of silence. You have found the still point where creation bows before you. This stature of the spiritual man is what you are here to develop. You are not here just to get cars and houses. You are here to exercise your creative power. You are here to learn how to be God. And God creates by speaking the word and then resting. On the seventh day, God rested, not because he was tired, but because the work was finished. You must find your seventh day. You must find your interval of rest. Peace is not the reward of creation. Peace is the cause. It is the very atmosphere in which all true expression unfolds. When you have truly accepted that your desire is already fulfilled, a holy stillness comes upon you. This is not the stillness of resignation. Resignation says, I guess I won't get it, so I will just accept my lot. That is the peace of the graveyard. The peace of the Sabbath is the peace of the victor. It is the peace of the general who has won the war and is now watching the treaty being signed. He is calm because the victory is secure. This peace is active. It is potent. It vibrates with life. When you enter this state, you feel as though life has shifted its weight. You feel a lightness in your step. The burden of the how has been lifted. You no longer care how it will happen. You only know that it must happen. You no longer look for signs. You no longer ask when or how. You simply know. And in that knowing, the work is finished. This is the secret many seek but few understand. They think creation ends when the thing appears in physical form. But creation ends when the mind becomes quiet. Creation ends when the desire is replaced by the feeling of satisfaction. The outer expression is only the echo, the shadow cast by that inner silence. Therefore, to live in constant peace is to live in constant creation. You are always creating, but are you creating from a place of lack or a place of fullness? The Sabbath is the state of fullness. It is the state of gratitude. Thank you, Father, that thou hast heard me. This is the prayer of the Sabbath. It is not a petition, it is a thanksgiving. When you enter this state, everything becomes lighter, more fluid, more obedient. People respond differently to you. They sense your lack of neediness. Neediness repels, but satisfaction attracts. When you are in the Sabbath, you are magnetic. You are not trying to get anything from anyone. You are full. And because you are full, the world rushes to give you more. It is the law that to him who has more shall be given. The Sabbath is the feeling of having. Therefore more is given to it, but to him who has, not even what he has shall be taken away. This means if you are in the state of wanting and worrying, you are in the state of having not, and you will lose even the little peace you have. The Sabbath saves you from this loss. You must be willing to let the old man die. The old man is the man of effort, the man of struggle, the man who thinks he has to manipulate the world. He must die, so that the new man, the man of faith, can live. The Sabbath is the tomb of the old man and the womb of the new man. It is the place of transformation. Do not be afraid to do nothing. Do not be afraid to stand still. The world will tell you that you are irresponsible. They will tell you that you are dreaming. Let them talk. They are asleep. You are awake. You know that the real work is internal. You know that one moment of pure concentrated imagination is worth 10 years of physical labor. We must address the fear of delay. The ego hates to wait. It wants instant gratification. It says if it hasn't happened by Tuesday, it isn't working. The Sabbath transcends time. In the Sabbath, there is no time. There is only the eternal now. In the now, you have it. If you have it now, you are not waiting for it to come tomorrow. The waiting implies absence. The Sabbath implies presence. When you are in the Sabbath, time collapses. The bridge of incidents creates itself rapidly, but if you watch the clock, you slow down the time. A watched pot never boils. A watched manifestation never comes. Take your eyes off the clock. Take your eyes off the calendar. Put your eyes on the feeling. There is a rhythm to this rest. It is living water. It flows, yet it is never disturbed. It creates, yet it is never depleted. Cease your striving. Withdraw attention from the chaos of the outer world. Do not beg. Do not plead. Do not chase. The law, being impersonal, has already begun to execute your assumption. The law does not care if you are a good person. It does not care if you deserve it. It only cares that you have planted the seed and left it alone. The law works for the sinner and the saint alike if they respect the Sabbath. The Sabbath is the condition under which the law operates most efficiently. Let your confidence be so deep that even delay feels like confirmation. When things seem to go wrong, when obstacles appear, interpret them as part of the bridge of incidents. Say to yourself, this too is part of the plan. This too is leading me to my desire. Do not judge the appearance. Sometimes things have to fall apart before they can come together. Sometimes you have to lose a job to get a better one. Sometimes a relationship has to end to make space for the true love. In the Sabbath, you do not judge the intermediate steps. You hold the vision of the end. The end justifies the means. The end redeems the means. The end determines the means. Let your composure be your prayer. Let your stillness be your proof. For in that stillness, God moves mightily. God is not in the wind. God is not in the earthquake. God is not in the fire. God is in the still small voice. The Sabbath is the tuning of your ear to that still small voice. It is the quieting of the drums of the world so you can hear the symphony of the Spirit. When you are in the Sabbath, you receive guidance. You get a hunch to go somewhere. You get an urge to call someone. This is not forced action. This is inspired action. This is action that comes from rest. Follow these nudges. They are the breadcrumbs leading you to the feast. You need not force the flow of life, for you are its source. You need not demand the sun to rise. You are the light that lighteth every man who cometh into the world. Be content to rest in that realization. Be at peace and watch the peace become your world. The peace is not passive. It is a projector. It projects a world of peace around you. Conflict dissolves in your presence. Chaos organizes itself in your presence. You become a center of order in a disordered world. This is the practical benefit of the Sabbath. It makes your life work better. It creates harmony in your home and in your business. And when the manifestation comes, as surely it will receive it not with astonishment, but with gratitude. Do not be surprised when your imaginal act hardens into fact. You should expect it. It should feel natural. You should say, of course it happened. I saw it happen weeks ago in my imagination. Astonishment implies that you didn't really believe it. Gratitude implies that you knew it was done. Be grateful. Gratitude is the closing of the circuit. It is the acknowledgement of the gift. So tonight, as you enter your inner chamber, close your eyes and practice the Sabbath. Practice the feeling of done. Say to yourself, it is finished. Feel the relief. Let the muscles of your mind relax. Let the anxiety drain out of you. You have given the order. The universe is marching. Your only job now is to keep the faith and hold the light. The Sabbath is your sanctuary. It is your fortress. It is your home. Dwell there. Abide there, and you will see the salvation of the Lord. We have now reached the summit of our contemplation. We have journeyed together from the noisy marketplace of the senses, through the illusion of motion, and down into the silent depths of the soul. We have anchored ourselves in the I Am, and we have learned to stand unmoved in the face of the storm. We have traversed the dark night of waiting, and we have entered the holy rest of the Sabbath. Now, as we prepare to part ways and return to the surface of daily life, I offer you this final benediction, which is not merely a closing prayer, but a sealing of the truth within your heart. You are not the same person who began this journey. You have touched the hem of the garment of God. You have tasted the power of your own silence. The challenge now is not to gain more knowledge, but to embody what you have learned. The challenge is to carry this sanctuary of silence with you into the noise of the world. It is easy to be a mystic on a mountaintop, but you are called to be a mystic in the marketplace. You are called to walk through the fires of life without the smell of smoke upon you, because you are clothed in the peace of the I Am. You must understand that peace is not the reward of creation. Peace is the cause. This is the great secret that the world does not know. The world thinks that peace comes after the war is won. The world thinks that peace comes after the money is in the bank. The world thinks that peace comes after the health is restored. But I tell you that peace is the very atmosphere in which the solution is born. If you wait for the problem to be solved before you feel peace, you will wait forever, because your lack of peace is sustaining the problem. You must become the peace that passes understanding. You must become the center of order in your own chaotic universe. When you hold the feeling of peace in the midst of trouble, you are effectively saying to the storm, peace, be still. And the storm must obey, not because you forced it, but because you provided the mold of peace into which the energy must flow. When you hold to that awareness of being, you discover that peace is not still water, it is living water. It flows, yet it is never disturbed. It creates, yet it is never depleted. This living water is the creative power of God. When you stop striving, and striving creates friction, you allow the living water to flow without obstruction. You become a conduit for the divine intelligence. You will find that you have more energy than before. The exhaustion you felt in the past was not from work, it was from resistance. It was from the mental friction of fighting reality. When you stop fighting and start creating from silence, the friction disappears. You move with a grace and an ease that looks like magic to the uninitiated. But it is not magic, it is alignment. It is the natural result of a mind stayed on truth. So I charge you today to become a guardian of your own peace. Treat your peace as the most precious treasure you possess. Do not trade it for an argument. Do not trade it for a headline. Do not trade it for the satisfaction of being right. The price is too high. If a thought comes to you that threatens your peace, recognize it as a thief. It has come to steal your pearl of great price. Do not let it in. Turn your back on it. Return to the anchor. Return to the silence. This requires a vigilance that is sharper than a sword. You must stand at the gate of your mind and demand the password from every visitor. If the visitor brings fear or doubt or anger, deny them entry. They have no place in the temple of the living God. Your mind is that temple. Keep it clean, keep it holy, keep it silent. Cease your striving. Withdraw attention from the chaos of the outer world. Do not beg, do not plead, do not chase. The law, being impersonal, has already begun to execute your assumption. The moment you entered the Sabbath, the bridge of incidents began to form. Your interference now will only delay the arrival. Imagine a sculptor who has cast a beautiful statue in bronze. The metal is cooling in the mold. If he tries to reshape it now, while it is hardening, he will ruin it. He must let it set. You have cast your desire in the bronze of your faith. Let it set. Trust the mold. Trust the metal. Trust the process. The cooling period is the time of silence. It is the time of confidence. Let your confidence be so deep that even delay feels like confirmation. When the world says it is late, you say it is right on time. When the world says it is impossible, you say it is done. Let your composure be your prayer. In the ancient text, prayer was not a begging for favors. Prayer was an attunement to the divine. When you are composed, when you are collected, when you are integrated, you are in a state of unceasing prayer. Your very being is a broadcast of faith. You do not need to say words. Your vibration speaks louder than words. God hears the prayer of your state, not the prayer of your lips. If your lips say, "I believe," but your stomach is tied in knots of fear, God hears the knots. He hears the fear. But if your lips are silent and your heart is calm, God hears the calm. He answers the calm with a reflection of peace. Be the calm you wish to see in the world. And when the manifestation comes, as surely it will receive it not with astonishment, but with gratitude. Astonishment belongs to the man who doubts. He is surprised because he didn't really believe it would happen. But you are the man of faith. You expect the harvest. When the money arrives, when the healing happens, when the relationship is restored, receive it with the quiet dignity of a king receiving his due. Say, "Thank you, Father," and then move on to the next creation. Do not worship the manifestation. Do not become attached to the gold or the fame or the object. They are just shadows. Worship the power that created them. Worship the silence from which they came. If you worship the thing, you will lose the power. If you worship the power, you can create 1,000 things. There is a rhythm to this life of silence. It is an ebb and a flow. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to speak and a time to be silent. You are now entering the time of the harvest. But do not forget the planting. Do not become so enamored with the fruit that you forget the root. The root is your I am. The root is your daily practice of withdrawal. Even when you are successful, even when the world applauds you, you must return to the closet. You must return to the silence. If you lose contact with the source, the fruit will wither. The world is full of one-hit wonders who manifested one great thing and then forgot how they did it. They got lost in the ego. They got lost in the noise. Do not be like them. Be the tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth fruit in its season. I want to speak to you about the solitude of the Master. You may feel alone on this path. The people around you may not understand your silence. They may want you to join in their drama and their complaining. They may call you aloof or distant. Do not let this trouble you. You are not alone. You are in the company of the great cloud of witnesses. You are walking the path that the mystics and the prophets and the saviors have walked before you. You are walking with God. The loneliness of the spiritual path is only the illusion of the senses. In reality, you are more connected than ever. You are connected to the source of all life. And as you maintain your silence, you will attract others who are also on the path. You will find your spiritual family. You will find those who can sit with you in the silence and not feel the need to fill it with noise. This channel and this community are part of that family. We are a gathering of souls who have decided to wake up. We are here to remind each other of the truth when the world tries to make us forget. I invite you to deepen your connection with us. If this message has touched your spirit, if it has awakened a memory of your true home, I ask you to subscribe to this channel. This is not just about numbers. It is about building a collective force of silence in a noisy world. It is about creating a network of lights that spans the globe. By subscribing, you are plugging into this network. You are stating your intention to walk this path. And I ask you to share this video. Share it with someone who is struggling. Share it with someone who is lost in the noise. You may be the angel that brings them the message of peace. I also challenge you to leave a record of your commitment. In the comments below, write down one word that represents the state you are choosing to inhabit. It could be peace. It could be abundance. It could be health. It could be love. Write it down as a decree. Let it be your signature on the contract of your new life. And when you come back to this video in the future, you will see that word and remember the moment you chose it. You will see how the silence gestated that word into a reality. We are witnesses to each other's greatness. Let us support each other in the silence. Now I give you your marching orders. You are to go out into the world, but you are not to be of the world. You are to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and fear no evil. Why? Because you know that the shadows are projected by your own mind and you have changed the film. You are to look at the poor and see them rich. You are to look at the sick and see them healed. You are to look at the angry and see them peaceful. You are to impose your silence upon the noise of the world. You are not to accept the evidence of the senses as final. You are the judge and you have ruled in favor of the wish fulfilled. Do not let the lower court of the senses overturn your verdict. Your verdict is final. There will be days when you fail. There will be days when the noise gets in. There will be days when you react. Do not condemn yourself. Condemnation is just more noise. Simply notice it. Forgive yourself and return to the anchor. The anchor is always there. The silence is always waiting for you. It does not judge you. It welcomes you back. The moment you turn your attention back to the I am, you are home. The prodigal son is always welcomed with a feast. The feast is the peace that returns instantly when you remember who you are. Never feel that you have fallen too far. You are only one thought away from the kingdom. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Your silence is that light. It shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehends it not. People will wonder at your calm. They will ask you for your secret. And you will tell them, be still and know. You will teach them not by your words, but by your presence. You will become a living benediction. Wherever you go, the atmosphere will lighten. Wherever you go, hope will return, because you are carrying the atmosphere of heaven in your heart. You are bringing the Sabbath into the week. So tonight, as you enter your inner chamber, close your eyes and remember the truth. You are the still point in a moving world. You are the unmoved center from which creation flows. You are the dreamer who has awakened within the dream. Do not go back to sleep. Stay awake, watch, pray, and rest. The work is done. The seed is planted. The harvest is sure. Go your way and eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your works. Let this silence settle into your bones. Let it rewrite your DNA. Let it heal your memories. Let it structure your future. You are safe. You are loved. You are infinite. There is nothing to fear. The past is a dream. The future is a dream. The only reality is now, and in this now you are free. In this now you are whole. In this now you are God. May the peace that passes all understanding guard your hearts and minds. May the silence of the infinite be your constant companion. May you walk in the certainty of your own divinity, and may your life be a testament to the power of the I am. You have the keys. The door is open. Walk through. And now let us go into the silence. This knowledge is power, but only if applied. Do not let this be just another video you watched. I challenge you. Leave a comment below with one word that represents the state you are choosing to inhabit today, whether it be peace, abundance, or health. Let that word be your signature on the contract of your new life. And if you know someone who is lost in the noise of the world, be the light for them. Share this full lecture with them. It might be the anchor they desperately need. For more deep dives into the laws of mind, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Go now, keep the silence, and remember who you are.